Is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel, and today we are going to be getting into my draft grades. Today we will be doing the NFC South and the AFC South to kick off. This will be my first ones I do, and then we will get into some of the other divisions in the next video. I was thinking of just doing all of them at once, but I think that would cram just too much into one video, so we're going to do these in individual sections. So yeah, starting out with the NFC South, we have got the New Orleans Saints kicking off this, and the Saints. So yeah, before we get into this, I'm mainly going to be looking into the first 2 days for analysis, and then we'll kind of chime into day 3s, because day 3 doesn't have that much of an impact in determining where these grades are. Some picks will. And I'll chime in on some, but yeah, so just kind of a little reference there. But yeah, anyway, we got the Saints here, and the Saints, decent draft, starting out with their first pick, Talise Fuaga, out of Oregon State. A lot of people love this pick at 14. Talise Fuaga is my offensive tackle 5. I thought there was some better value there. For example, Fatanu was there, Amarius Mims were there. I think those were overall better players. But I'm not going to complain about this at all for the New Orleans Saints. You know, it's a good pick. Fuaga, I think will be very good at guard if they slide him into, but he can very much play offensive tackle. So I'm not slamming the Saints for this pick. It is a B pick, so it's not over the top great. I like it a lot. It's just a good pick, in my opinion. And some people will say it's great. I think it's just a solid pick in the first round. That he'll be a good impact player for New Orleans. Then you got the Kool-Aid McKinstry pick out of Alabama. Kool-Aid, I thought, could have, this is a route right around where I thought Kool-Aid would go, a little bit on the lower end, because I had a first to second round grade on him. A really good pick, though. I give this one an A- for the Saints. It's the reason why it's not an A, in my opinion. The Saints the cornerback's not their biggest need. It's a good need, but not their biggest. So, great, solid pick, though, for the Saints. Kool-Aid will fit right in, though, for them. And then they didn't have a pick till the 5th round, but a great pick in the 5th round, in my opinion. They go up to get Spencer Rattler out of South Carolina. I thought Spencer Rattler should have went in the 3rd round, just as a developmental quarterback that, has a lot of high upside. And to get him in the 5th round honestly reminds me kind of a Sam Howell type pick a while ago, where I thought he should have gone in the 1st round. Sam Howell showed those upsides this year. I think that's very similar. I know some of the off the field stuff, I guess, got to Spencer Rattler, in this draft for his profile, but still, though, with that kind of talent in the 5th round is a great pick. So yeah, this is one of these picks I'll be, chiming in on in the day 3. They not going to chime in the rest. They got some solid dart throws down there. So yeah, ultimately, it's a good draft. I kind of like it for the Saints, especially with the Spencer Rattler pick. I think that's a great pick in the 5th round to, have him sit behind Derek Carr. And when you're done with Derek Carr, you can give him a year, and honestly, he has a lot of potential. I could see this as, a very solid quarterback option that you got in the 5th round, which is pretty good. Obviously. So, yeah, I think this draft for the Saints is an A-. The Fuaga pick, I think, doesn't really get it up to be an A. But A- seems about right there for the New Orleans Saints. All right, we got the Falcons up next. And then the Falcons, they took the craziest pick I've seen in a while, going with Michael Penix Jr. out of Washington. I was surprised on draft day, was not expecting this. But yeah, let's get into my analysis on this one. The Falcons, I don't get why you pay Kirk Cousins for 4 years if you're going to take a QB. I kind of get the process, though. You know, Kirk Cousins obviously just coming off a big injury. You want to get that QB that could be, step in as a very good backup. And then you also have the backup plan of plugging him in when you're done with Kirk Cousins. And Michael Penix can be a really solid QB for you in that offense. So I get the kind of analysis. Michael Penix, I think, was right in the mix with some of these other QBs like Bo Nix, J.J. McCarthy. Those guys. I think I don't think he was probably he's my 6th ranked QB. So I think he's slightly, a less valuable prospect than them, but not by much. So, this pick makes sense in some terms, but just some of the things here, I think the Saints would have been better, or the Falcons would have been better off taking a defensive player. You hire a defensive-minded coach, which I think signifies that they're probably wanting to win now because defensive minds are more of like a shorter-term option at coach, just overall. But anyway, yeah, Michael Penix. And then you have a young owner, a team that's in this NFC. This whole free agency has made you seem like they're trying to push to win this weak division, the weakest division in football right now. I mean, things were lining up that they were trying to win now, and then they take Michael Penix Jr. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But honestly, the pick I'm more critical of is their 35th pick and taking Rook Ororu. And this isn't as much to do with Rook Ororu, very similar to Michael Penix here, why it's getting such a bad grade for me at a D-, but it really has to do with just the process here. You trade up to 35 to take Rook Ororu, who I think is a decent prospect, but I think he's a 2nd to 3rd round pick. A very lighter guy that can step in. But I think he has a long ways to go to be a good option for you. And man, I just don't get it. When Jazeen Newton was on the board at that point, that would have been such a better pick to trade up here. But you take Rook Ororu, which just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So that gets a D- for me. That was close to being an F. I just don't get the process there. So really 2 questionable picks at the top of the round or top of the draft for me for the Falcons. They do go get Braylon Trice, though, edge out of Washington. I really like the pick here. You fill in an edge. Braylon Trice can, I think, a very solid floor here. He can fit right into you, be a very solid option in the 3rd round. And then, you got some solid day 3 picks. Braden, however you pronounce that. Solid interior D lineman out of Oregon that, kind of a project type. And then JT Bertrand was my 8th linebacker in this class. I give in an A- for that. He can be a developmental piece. So, and then some kind of questionable ones, especially the Zion Logue pick out of Georgia. I just don't get picking him. He just doesn't seem like a draftable prospect to me. There's just not a whole lot there on tape. Senior Bowl, he had a meltdown, if you've watched that, when he was just getting beat all around there. So Zion Logue, I just think, is one of the weakest players out of Georgia to come out, in my opinion. I don't think he was draftable. Some of those other picks I just think are fine picks there. Aren't too high on them. But yeah, so the Falcons, overall, very weird draft. I'm going to put them at C- here. I think they're getting hated on too much. I think the Michael Penix Jr. pick makes a little bit of sense. It really is the Rook Ororu pick, though, that I was like, man, this is just not a great draft for the Falcons overall. So yeah, they're below where I think they I think an average pick that you should have is at least a B in the draft. If you're below there, I think I'm going to be a little bit more critical on your draft. So yeah, the Falcons C-, right there. All right, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And then, yeah, going from, draft I'm very questioning, I think this was an excellent draft for Tampa Bay. Starting out with Graham Barton, who was my interior line number 1. He was a top 15 player for me in this draft. He has a lot of position flexibility for you, but I think he's going to be best at guard, which is a position that the Buccaneers need. He will fit right in. I think he could honestly come right in here and be a Pro Bowl guard for you, which is great, honestly. And the Buccaneers need that on the interior O-line to protect Baker Mayfield. So A+ pick, a steal in my opinion at 26. Very lucky he was there in my eyes. A lot of other teams I think should have took him above 26. Then you got Chris Braswell, edge out of Alabama. Solid pick. He was outside my top 10 edges, but there's a lot of good edges in this class. I think he will be a good player at the next level. And then Tyke Smith, though, I think was also a huge steal for the Bucs. I mean, Tyke Smith, I think, was my second safety in the class. And this is 3rd round. Oh, I got this mixed up. Where did they take Smith? I think it was 3.87, if I'm not mistaken. Let me change that. Let's actually go here to see. Where is Tampa Bay? They're back here. Yeah, so it was around there, I think. Somewhere around there. We'll just keep it for now. But yeah, anyway, Tyke Smith can be a great box safety for you. I think you should have gone in the 2nd round to get him at the 3rd round, a little bit later on. Very good pick. And then, honestly, as a Seahawks fan, I was hoping we were going to get him. But unfortunately, well, we took a great player there anyway, so can't complain too much. But anyway, Jalen McMillan, wide receiver out of Washington, on a few picks later. Really solid pick there, or decent pick. I mean, there was some better receiver options there, in my opinion, but it's a decent pick that's right around where I think he should have gone. And then the rest of the picks are just decent picks, so in the day 4. But yeah, so the Buccaneers, especially their first 3 picks, really boost this. This, in my opinion, is an A draft for the Buccaneers. Great draft. Starting out with Graham Barton was the highlight of that draft. And then the next 2 picks, they got some really good value with Chris Braswell and Tyke Smith, and Jalen McMillan will be a very solid receiving option for Tampa Bay. So I really like this draft for the Buccaneers right there. I think Buccaneers fans should be very excited. All right, Carolina Panthers up. Carolina traded up into the 1st round to take Xavier Legette. Very big fan of this fit. I think this fits perfectly with what the Buccaneers are trying to do on offense to get Bryce Young, that receiving threat. Dave Canales is going to want to fit him in there with a type of player like Xavier Legette. And also I think it's best to trade up to the 1st round because you get that 5th-year option for a receiver. And if a receiver breaks out, they're going to get the bag. So it's good to have an extra year of, not as pricey of a receiver. So I really like that option, especially if the Panthers seemed like they knew that was their guy. Really good pick. He was a top 50 player for me. So I really like the fit with Xavier Legette. Then you got Jonathan Brooks, in the 2nd round. Solid pick for Jonathan Brooks. I think that, I believe, he's slipping my mind right now, but the Florida State running back, Trey Benson, I had higher. I think he still was on the board, so that's a reason why I have this a little bit lower, and I think he should have gone a little bit later on, but still a good, solid pick for the Bucs with Jonathan Brooks, and they needed a good running back option. And then Trevon Wallace out of Kentucky. I think it was a little bit rich to take him this early in the 3rd round, but I can't complain too much. I don't think he should start right away. He's going to have to be one of those players that you're going to have to develop because he really struggles at this position. He doesn't know that much about it. So very athletic player. You're really drafting based off the traits and the person he is. So it's really solid pick. Decent pick. I do have it as a B-, so on the lower end there. But Ja'Tavion Sanders at the top of the 4th round is a highlight pick. I think he should have gone at earliest the 2nd round there. He was my tight end 2 in this class. A lot of people agreed on that. That was kind of the consensus. Obviously that Texas offense had such great, weapons. He was like the 5th best option for them, but still he was a great tight end receiving option. And I really like that for Ja'Tavion Sanders to the Panthers. And then some solid picks down the board. So, yeah, Carolina, great, solid draft, in my opinion. I think this is an A- type draft. You really just attacked home to get Bryce Young. Those options really retooled this team overall, and I cannot blame them. That offense was atrocious last year. So, give another year for Bryce Young to have an actual offense to work with. So, good draft. All right, we got the Houston Texans up. And the Houston Texans' first pick was Kamari Lassiter. Didn't have a first-round pick, so had to wait to the 2nd round. But yeah, Kamari Lassiter, cornerback, my cornerback 10 out of Georgia. Solid pick. B- for me. I mean, I think there was a lot of better options there at corner. Particularly Ennis Rakestraw Jr. there. Mike Sainristil still. I think there just was some better cornerbacks in general available at 2.42, but it's a decent pick. I'm not going to complain too much about it for the Texans, and obviously DeMeco Ryans knows what he's doing, so who am I to criticize a pick like that? And then Blake Fisher, offensive tackle out of Notre Dame. I was much higher on Blake Fisher than a lot of people were, so I'm glad to see him go early. He was my 9th offensive tackle. A pick for me. I think he's a very high floor type player, and that's very hard to come by in the 2nd round. His ceiling's a little bit limited, but I think he can plug in and be a solid tackle for you right away. And the Texans needed that option to protect CJ. And then Kalen Bullock in the 3rd round's a decent pick. I'm not high on Kalen Bullock, though. Again, though, DeMeco Ryans knows what he's doing out of USC. Higher upside safety. I think he'll fit right in. But then the Cade Stover pick in the 4th round was another one of these steals similar to Ja'Tavion Sanders. He was my tight end 4 at Ohio State. Great receiving threat, man. And give another weapon for CJ Stroud in the 4th round. You cannot complain too much about that, man. That tight end room's looking pretty solid right now. I was not a fan of the Jawar Jordan pick, though, running back out of Louisville. I just don't see a lot there. I mean, he was decent at Louisville, but I don't think a draftable player. He can come in and be a decent 4th running back, I guess, but I just feel like there was a lot better options there that they could have gone with. But other than that, solid day 3. So, Houston, really solid draft. I got him at a B+, though. Maybe a little lower than some people have them. The Kamari Lassiter pick was good. Blake Fisher pick was good. But nothing really stood. Cade Stover, obviously solid. But nothing really stood out to me to punch them up to an A-. I think a B+ pick is just a really decent, good draft. And you're not going to complain too much about that. So, yeah, that's where I have the Texans. Next up, we got the Titans. And this was my least favorite pick in the whole 1st round. Even worse than Michael Penix. Well, Michael Penix Jr. was an interesting pick, but this is a bad pick in my opinion. And that's going to be J.C. Latham out of Alabama. I mean, I just don't get the process of taking J.C. Latham in the at 7th. 1st round, that's fine. He's a decent tackle, but I have him at my tackle 6. I know a lot of people are higher on him, but I just don't see it with him. He's at least at tackle. I mean, he's just he's a good, decent run blocker, but pass blocking, I just don't see a lot there. I think he has a lot of red flags on his tape when it comes to pass blocking, especially with like those, with his feet, getting off to the next step. People just use their speed to get around him easily. And when you're at tackle, and the Titans very much need it, they're going to be hard-pressed to throw him in right there, and hopefully he figures it out. And I don't see it. I think tackle's one of those positions. If you just look at Evan Neal, another tackle out of Alabama, you just throw him right in there. He is a backup now. I mean, it just can ruin a tackle prospect altogether. I think he would have been much better at guard to start out with, just the way he plays and his footwork. I just don't see it, especially when a lot of teams are running, as we see reported, wanting to trade up to this pick to take Michael Penix. Trade down. Why is J.C. Latham the hard-pressed guy you have to take? There is so much better tackle prospects, in my opinion. Fushanu was there. I know Evan Neal didn't get to you, but you got Talise Fuaga, you got Amarius Mims, you got Troy Fatanu. I just don't see it with J.C. Latham. I'm going to be real with you guys. It's just I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of that pick. But Brian Callahan knows what he's doing with offensive line. Very similar to DeMeco Ryans. I'm like, he sees something in him. Maybe I missed something. Maybe Brian Callahan can turn him into a good player. But I'm not betting on that just from what I saw from J.C. Latham. So that was not a good pick in my opinion. At 38, it's a decent, better pick. T'Vondre Sweat, who, based on upside, this could be a great pick for the Tennessee Titans. But we know the overall concerns with him after he got that DUI. I mean, other than that, also with that, there's just some, personality traits that get you worried. He's a party guy, it seems like. Seems like he doesn't take care of his body great, as we've heard. But maybe those are just all BS reports. But yeah, that obviously hurt his draft stock, especially when he got into that DUI. I thought he was a third-round pick. But like I said, though, this guy has the ceiling to me of a Chris Jones-type player, which if you're taking that in the second round, that's a great pick. But he has a lot of bust potential around him. So I could see these top two picks really going south for the Tennessee Titans. But yeah, I think they got a great value with Cedric Gray, who's my fourth linebacker in the fourth round. Really like that pick. He can plug in right there. I think he can fit right in. Will be a really solid run defender for you. I think a really good linebacker too. I think he can fit right in right away. Very high floor player. And then a lot of solid other picks in the day 3. So Tennessee, the J.C. Latham pick I did not like. T'Vondre Sweat pick I'm kind of hesitant on, but I have this as a C- below the Falcons here. Both teams I think had questionable picks in this draft, questionable drafts overall. So I do have to go with a C- for them. And yeah, but hopefully they can prove me wrong on that. All right, 2 more teams here. We got the Colts. Colts up. Laiatu Latu at 15 is a great pick for the Indianapolis Colts. A- pick. He was my number 1 edge over Dallas Turner, which was a hotter take coming in, but it paid out. He's a very higher floor player, and I think a lot what goes unnoticed is he has a really high ceiling. It was really just the injury concerns that got to him. And it seemed like those checked out. So that was a solid pick. The only reason I don't have that as an A is because I would have liked to fit more of a Quinyon Mitchell, which I just don't think they addressed that cornerback room in this draft. There's kind of a knock on it, but still, you can't argue too much with a very good edge prospect like Laiatu Latu. So, really solid pick there. Adonai Mitchell, though, was a steal at 52. Just the sheer amount of potential with this kid. I've said it time and time again. The highest I think he can be is CeeDee Lamb, which if you're taking that guy in the second round, you are rejoicing. I know some of the off the field stuff kind of came up, but honestly, I'm calling BS on that. I think he's a good kid and it will be a great player for you. So A+ type pick was a first to second round grade for me. The pick that kind of pushed me back though was Matt Goncalves, offensive tackle out of Pittsburgh. I just didn't see it on him as a third round talent. I forgot to put that, but I think he's more of like a day 3 type guy, a developmental tackle that I don't think will fit in right away. So that wasn't the best pick in my opinion, but other than that, Tanner Bortolini, inside offensive line out of Wisconsin, I think can be a really solid pick in the 4th round, and some more decent picks from there. So really good pick for the Colts. I got them another A- type team. We're having kind of a clunker up here at A to B+, especially in the A- category. I think they're above the Panthers and the Saints overall as a draft, especially with their first 2 picks. That kind of brings it over the top for me. So yeah, good draft for Indy. All right, finishing it off here with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jaguars start off here trading down and then taking Brian Thomas Jr. Really good first pick for the Jaguars. They need a weapon, lost a lot of players. It's a sneaky bad wide receiver room in Jacksonville right now, and Brian Thomas Jr. can plug in right away, is a great option, at 21 for them. Or I believe that was 23 actually, right? Or 22 or something. I think I misplaced that. But anyway, really good pick. It was my wide receiver 4 in this draft. Given an A for that one. And then you get down, and it's just a lot of mixture here for the Jaguars, as I think it always is. Mason Smith was my 9th interior D line at LSU. 3rd or 4th round grade on him. I just don't see it with Mason Smith. He has potential to be a decent player at the next level, can develop his traits, but at LSU, I know they're taking back-to-back LSU players here. This is kind of funny, but I just don't see it, man. He's just very raw at interior D-line. And then Jermaine Jones, also I think was a day 3 pick, another raw type pick for me at 96. You're noticing a theme there. It's just a theme for the Jaguars. I just don't see it with Jermaine Jones, man. Has some traits, but in the 3rd round, there's just some better options there that you can take. Javon Foster, though, I thought was a solid pick out of Missouri. Actually a great pick. He can be a good tackle option that you can, not ready to start right away, obviously, but could develop. I think I could develop into something, and that's a good pick in the 4th round. But Jordan Jefferson's one of my few F picks. I think this is just a waste of a pick. Jordan Jefferson. This is just the Jaguars. Classic picking off traits in the 4th, in the day 3, even in the earlier rounds. You're just picking off traits, man, and it just doesn't always work. He has athleticism. He tested decently, but he does not know how to play football. So I know that's harsh, but I just don't see it with him. That's just a bad pick in my opinion. I'm just going to stand on that. Keelan Robinson, I think, was also a bad pick. Just not a good player, I think, out of Texas. I mean, he's a decent running back, but he was a backup to, what's his face? The player that, Jonathan Brooks. I just don't see it, man. He was a backup running back. He was decent as a backup, but had some potential in there, but not much seen on tape at all. So, yeah, other than that, though, had some decent picks. I mean, not picks that I'm too high on, but yeah, so the Jaguars, the Brian Thomas pick was great, but it's just every year I just can't get behind the Jaguars just because of how much, just I don't agree with their day 3 picks. I think they're just letting talent slip there, relying too much on just sheer athleticism and traits. I just don't know about the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I'm going to give them a B draft. Again, the Brian Thomas Jr. pick was good, but other than that, I think it was just kind of a mid-draft. So Jacksonville gets a B in my opinion. All right, well, that is the AFC South and the NFC South rankings there. Hopefully y'all enjoyed this. Comment down below your thoughts. And anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Peace out.